Now on Denver 7 News at 7 on Local 3, time is running out for the Justice Department to decide what you can see and what's above your security clearance when it comes to the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Jefferson County families at 16 schools could see their child's campus closed. The next steps for consolidation because of declining enrollment in the district.
A David versus Goliath battle between Denver business owners and city leaders. We'll tell you who won the fight to let food trucks stay open downtown.
Just excited to see and to feel that rocket blast off and, know my fingerprints are going to deep space.
Yeah, an historic mission to space prepares for liftoff. The first step to putting Americans back on the moon for the first time in 50 years is Monday, and there are a lot of Colorado ties that we're going to explore coming up.
I'm so excited for Monday, too, of course.
Oh, my gosh.
This is going to be fun. First, we got the weekend, though.
I know.
Yes, weekend
Happy Friday.
time. Happy Friday to you. Lisa Hidalgo taking a look at a nice forecast out there so far today.
Quote, I'm so excited for Monday, said no one ever before. She's probably the first person on a Friday to have ever said that, right? Beautiful start to our day from our camera, Vero wireless camera out east there in Lyman. Lots of sunshine. If your kids want to bike to school this morning, it's nice and dry early on. We will see a chance of scattered storms, though, this afternoon. Low 80s between about 1 and 2 o'clock, so it's going to warm up a little bit cooler today, though, with a weak cold front and a bit more monsoon moisture. We're going to see more 60s and 70s for the most part in the mountains and some 80s for the most part across the plains. Taking a look at Futurecast, we'll see more scattered storms and showers developing here by early afternoon. We'll take a closer look at how this is all going to clear out, and we're in for a pretty nice weekend forecast. Details coming up.
And right now it's pretty busy across parts of town. Other parts of town are wide open. One trouble spot we have on the freeways is going to be this one on the westbound side of I-76, right here at about Sheridan, heavy from Federal. You can see that from the camera in here at Federal. Some of that traffic that's already backing up because of that wreck. The eastbound side affected by the sun glare, and you can see the drive times, double the commute time on westbound compared to the eastbound. You could always use I-25 and I-70 to get around that. 270 is busy, I-70 is a bit busier. Remember, we'll talk about the closure of I-70 coming up that starts tonight over through the weekend, and we still have westbound Alameda closed down from Potomac here just after 225 over to Peoria. There's a water main break that was repaired. They still have to repair the road, so 2nd Avenue, 6th Avenue, or Mississippi get you around it for now.
Well, under judge's orders, the government has 3 hours now to figure out what should be redacted from the affidavit used to go into Mar-a-Lago, and it will be made public at 10 o'clock this morning.
Attorney and Denver 7 reporter Jessica Crawford is joining us now to break down what comes next and what we will and won't see from this.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions there. Hopefully we'll get some answers, but we're not too sure on that. People familiar with the investigation are saying the search was part of a probe into possible mishandling of White House records, even documents related to nuclear weapons, which Trump denies. We could get a lot more clarity by 10 o'clock when that affidavit has to come out. Here's why people have been so anxious to see what it says. A search warrant is only issued after an affidavit is presented. The affidavit describes the place, the person, or the thing to be searched. It describes the property that's being searched for, and it also establishes the reasons why the warrant should be issued. All critical questions still 3 weeks later after that Mar-a-Lago raid. However, the Justice Department requested several redactions to protect the investigation and the people involved. So while we could learn a lot from the affidavit, chances are we won't.
It's an effort to strike a balance by the magistrate between, on one hand, the government's desire to keep its investigation intact and public's interest in knowing what this is all about. If all of that evidence is disclosed to the public, then the Department of Justice is very concerned that the investigation will be impeded.
And there's been concern about this being a political move. Well, this week, President Biden addressed the search of Trump's home publicly for the first time, and he said that he had no advance knowledge of it. I'm Jessica Crawford, Denver 7.
Thank you, Jessica. We now know Jeffco Public Schools is looking to close 16 elementary schools. This will impact nearly 2,500 students and more than 400 full-time staff. We've mapped out the schools that are on the list for closure. As you can see, they're spread out across the large Jeffco district. Jeffco says it lost more than 5,000 students between 2019 and this year, and that has led to a lack of resources and special programs at those smaller schools, limiting student growth.
This is not easy for any of us. I don't want to close any schools. I know our families and our staff don't want us to close any schools. But if we don't, we are not taking advantage of our opportunity to really resource our schools in a way that provides that high quality programming for students.
The decision-making process isn't over. The school board will not vote on these recommendations until November 10th. There will be some community meetings between now and then, but if those school closures take effect, they will not happen till next school year. Also, the district will not be naming preschool sites for closure till November before the choice window opens December 6th. To see that full list of those potential closed schools, you can go to our website, thedenverchannel.com. Jeffco's population has actually increased by almost 56,000 between the year 2000 and 2020. However, during that same time period, the number of school-aged kids in the county decreased by nearly 30,000. The district says the population in the county under aged 5 has decreased remarkably, with 2020 marking the lowest number of births recorded in 15 years. And these dwindling student numbers and possibility of closing schools are not unique to Jeffco. We're talking about this in a lot of districts right now.
Right, happening all over the state, including in our state's largest school district. Denver Public Schools formed a declining enrollment advisory committee to make recommendations on closing or consolidating its campuses. The district has not set a timeline yet for when those decisions could be made, but officials have said in the past that any closures would not impact the schools until the 2024-25 school year. The current contract between Denver Public Schools and its teachers union expires next Wednesday. Both sides will be back for talks that day starting at 9 a.m. and they say they will go until they reach an agreement. Teachers are asking for a starting salary of $55,000 a year, a cost of living increase, and a stipend for serving on school committees.
The city of Denver has changed its mind, it seems, about allowing food trucks to operate late at night in LoDo. Leaders essentially banned the trucks last month following a police shooting that injured 6 innocent people. The hope was by keeping the food trucks out, they could keep crowds from forming downtown. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is live, and this is a win for these small businesses, Veronica.
It is a win, and a small win, but a win is a win in this scenario, right? These metered spots behind me on weekend nights when the LoDo area is just crawling with people getting out of bars or maybe going to a baseball game. These are typically filled with those food trucks catering to that crowd, but that hasn't been the case in about the last month or so since Denver put that ban on them to be in this area. You know, these are really small businesses that really rely on this kind of business to survive. Business that comes from places like the one here behind me, these bars that let out people in those early hours of the morning to go ahead and grab something to eat. We know starting tonight, some of these food trucks will get the chance to park back out here like they have for so long, and that's because Denver is lifting its ban on those trucks being here. It does come with some strings attached though. Between 5 a.m. and 9, that's when those taco and pizza trucks, whatever they may be, they'll be able to come back to this area and start selling again, no problem. It's after 9 p.m. that those rules start getting a little restrictive. So what the city is doing is it's giving just 7 food trucks a license to operate between 9 p.m. and midnight. These new rules mean that the bars that let out at 2 in the morning, they are not going to be giving the businesses to the food trucks that obviously really need that business. Last week we spoke with a food truck owner who'd been set up in the area for about a decade. He told us he was really optimistic about the lifting of the ban, but he did say that the damage had already been done to his spot.
It's like 80% what we do. Bills, we pay rent, we pay everything. You know, we pay, sometimes you hire like 1 or 2 employees, we pay them, so you know, it's like I'm working for free.
We do want to mention that if for any reason one of these food trucks doesn't follow these rules that the city has put in place, they could either get a citation or maybe even a sanction on their license. And I mentioned there's only 7 of those licenses going to 7 different food truck owners. They're going to be able to set up in 2 different spots in LoDo. One is where we are this morning on 20th and Market, the other over on 19th and Blake Street. And these new rules, they are in place for at least the next 4 months. We're live in Denver this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. You have a chance to meet Ryan Seacrest and make it to the American Idol stage today. The audition available to Colorado.
And we're almost ready for liftoff. The role Colorado companies are playing in the historic mission to send Americans back to the moon.